G'day Bomber fans, that is season 2023 done and dusted. The year is now over. We did not get that 400 point win to have us playing finals. It was probably closer to a 400 point loss. We were yet again smashed for the second week in a row, the fourth time in 6 weeks. It's a really disappointing end to the year. The wheels fell off and it was not pretty to watch as a fan. I'll talk about the year as a whole more in a season review soon, but for now let's narrow it down to round 24. Before I get into the final round review, leave your player of the match votes in down below. 3, 2, 1, Brownlow style Bomber players only, you know the drill. So that first quarter, I mean realistically that's where the game was lost. It was the second straight first quarter belting in a row. Last week ended 45-6, this week it was 49-2, so across both weekends in first terms we have scored 1 goal 2 and our opposition scored 15 goals 4. That to me says all you need to know. You can't come back from deficits like that. We were clearly not invested in the game, which is upsetting given we were sending off Andrew Phillips and more importantly cult figure Anthony McDonald Tippett-Woody, who has given us fans so much enjoyment over the years. So to see the boys not show up for that, it's a little bit heartbreaking if I'm being honest. I thought we would see a response, not just because of the bad loss last week, but because we had that narrative in our favour, but we saw an absolute capitulation. That first term was dreadful. We were killed. The second quarter, things looked really dire early. I was thinking triple figures again, but for some reason we started to find our way in the contest and began to even it a bit, which if anything is just frustrating to me. The fact that we weren't even that horrible after quarter time. We were poor, but not 70 point loss poor, so to see us find our way into the contest when it was too late, I mean, why bother? Why tease us with that? Why play decent footy when the game is done? It's like we felt the heat distance itself as Collingwood sensed an easy win and decided that was the right time to look like a capable team. Not saying we were a capable team, we still only managed 3 goals for the game, but we played much better footy in that second half than we did in the first. In the end, we lost by 70 points. Most of the damage was done in that first quarter, and the Pies really did take their foot off the gas. This was a nice, pretty game of footy. It was low effort, low pressure. Neither side wanted to risk a corky. It was bruise-free, pressure-free. It was boring. We were boring as a team. We dished up that on a Friday night. Really, the AFL would be stupid to give us any more primetime games after what we've served up this year. We were belted by the Dogs earlier on and the Pies more recently. Meanwhile, teams that are performing well like GWS, they don't get any primetime games. We just weren't up to the occasion. We haven't been since the bye. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. How did this dismal Bombers team lose this game of footy? Well, for starters, let's get the excuses out of the way early. We were absolutely destroyed at selection. We had 6 out, all injuries, all best 22 members. But I just want to use this to say something else. I think this is probably what disappointed me most from the weekend. Mr. Bradley Scott, he has turned himself into a downright hypocrite in the course of one weekend, really. I'm livid at his coaching performance from this last fortnight. The fact that he has been saying system over personnel all year, resting players longer than they needed to be rested, talking about sacrificing the long term by introducing players when they weren't ready, and then brings back Draper, Stringer and Caldwell, rushing them back from injuries, only to omit them on the basis of injury a week later. Stringer has even had surgery since that game. To me, that is woeful. That is hypocritical coaching. And then in the presser after, he talks about how many players were missing. Yes, it takes its toll, but that is a pile of crap to hear coming from him. The fact he rushed players back last week after being so strict with it early in the season, I hate that. That is not how you create a winning culture. Rewarding injured players by giving them game time they don't deserve. What a load of crap. I really thought that was the worst thing he's done all year. I've admired what he's built around the club for 90% of the season, but these last 2 selections have left me absolutely baffled and just annoyed at Brad Scott. Let's move on and get onto the things we could control on the night. I thought the Pies were just a better and more physical team. We were not up to the contest yet again. We had so much uncontested footy, which resulted in so little. I thought our defenders and mids linked up okay under pressure, but our midfield to forward synergy was non-existent. Our forward setup was horrible and our midfield usage was just confusing at times, so the fact we couldn't win a meaningful clearance or one-on-one around the ground meant it was bound to be a smashing, really. They were just bigger and better. We were really poor in front of goal. We had 16 scoring shots and they had 21. We had just 5 less scoring shots but lost by 70 points. I mean, that's like, how do you explain that? 3 goals, 13, some easy misses. Ben Hobbs missed a sitter. Kyle Langford missed some ones he would usually get. We looked like we were trying to miss at times. I do actually think that 70 point margin makes our loss look worse than it was. Watching that game, it had 9 goal belting written on it. Not not 12 goal belting. You see the difference. We would have left the MCG with a grin, having only lost by 50 points if we kick straight. It would have been a much better result that would set us up for a big end of year celebration in Bali. Forward pressure, I've talked about it a lot recently. We have like 6 or 7 small forwards on the list, but none seem able to lay a tackle. It's hard when you have Guelphy and Stringer, two of the most prominent forward pressure assets of the year, missing, but 6 tackles inside 50 to 17. It shows why they locked the ball in so much easier to gain repeat entries. They had 17 more inside 50s than us, despite pretty much breaking even for disposals and only really just winning the clearance count, even though I think that narrow clearance deficit looks better than it was. Ours were scrappy clearances, they were meaningful and powerful. Our midfield, we saw a lot of one-way running. It's just shocking. You got players stat padding, they run as hard as they can to get an uncontested mark and cheap disposal, and you don't see them anywhere when the ball is flowing the other way. It's why it looks like there are extra opposition players at times. You can't look at Merritt and Parrish and say they had better games than DeGoey, despite having more of the ball. Our mids were lazy, don't expect to see any of them in the votes. Are there any positives from the night? I'd say maybe one. I thought for the personnel we had in defence, we looked able to manage their entries. I thought Nick Cox played his best game in recent memory. BZT was solid enough. Laverty, I mean, where did that come from? He genuinely had a super game, so I think our defence was probably the only highlight, especially after how poor it was last week. So for all the Magpies' dominance, they barely managed a score of over 100. We were under the pump all night and would have lost by more if it wasn't for our back 6, I reckon. In the end though, to me, that's the difference between a mature, finals-bound side and a young, immature team with plenty to work on. That was a horrible game to watch as a fan. That's something you would expect from West Coast or North. There's no sugarcoating it. It's weird that we finished the year 1 win outside the 8. It shows the major drop-off because we were absolutely spent late in this year. There have to be serious question marks around our fitness as a squad. It's common to see young teams either start poor and find momentum late or start well and run out of legs, but this is next level. There are serious questions being raised around the culture and standards of this club. I really hope they are addressed next year or hopefully sooner, because I can't stand to watch any more games like that. The fact that we've had these first quarters so often in the second half of the year, it's just depressing. We were trustworthy in the first half of the year, and now, well, we're still trustworthy for sure, but it's only because you can trust us to absolutely bottle it and embarrass ourselves. That's really it though. It was a disappointing night all round. Disappointing we couldn't send Waller off, and disappointing to see ticket sales exhausted and only 70 to 75,000 turn up. I don't care what you say about the week before and the belting that happened. It's a bad loss, but I hate the boycotting of games rubbish that fans go on about. If you can't support the club through tough times, what makes you think you deserve to be there when we succeed? Really, if you spend money on a ticket and decide not to show up because the boys aren't playing well, what makes you think you can question their passion and desire on game day? You can be sick or have other reasons not to show, but if you aren't attending because the team isn't playing well, you are just making it so more passionate fans than you that would attend can't. I didn't really have a mini rant to the fans planned out. I hope I haven't offended anyone, but just go to the game if you buy a ticket. Support the team at their worst, not just at their best. You can't have one-way barracking. I may have gone off topic a bit. All in all, dismal end to a dismal end of year. 90% of the season has been good, but recently we have not. We have been shocking. We've been a mess and an embarrassment of a club. The Pies get the win. They deserved it. They are the much better team. We end our year and look forward to 2024. It's not all doom and gloom. There is a lot to look forward to. I'll talk about it in my season review, but for now, Dons fans, let's mourn the loss together. Let's get through this tough period and try and see the light on the other side of a rather annoying tunnel, a tunnel that we really didn't think we would be in this year. Let's get onto the votes for the last time for season 2023. I'm going to give one vote to Kyle Langford. He just made things happen up forward. It wasn't his night, 1 goal, 3, but he was directly involved in a few scoring chances that should have been goals. I think he had the equal most score involvements from just around 15 disposals. 2 votes to Jaden Laverty. That was a really solid game in defence. He did let his direct opponent off the leash a few times, which is why he doesn't get the 3, but still a very good game. And 3 to Sam Durham. I know I said no midfielders, but him on that wing doesn't count. He did work hard, and I haven't given him enough credit or love this year. I thought he was really tenacious, and his gut running went rewarded. 3 votes to Durham, but really, no one deserves these votes that much. No one's going to feature come Brownlow night. That is all though, folks. Last round review for the year. We lost badly. It wasn't a fun Friday night, but that's That's not it for the content here though this year. I will still post at least once a week, probably more. So stay tuned to see me discuss the trade and draft and other off-field news. Cheers for all the support this year, Dons fans. It's been a lot of fun. I expect bigger and better things next year. Hopefully not just for the channel, hopefully the team as well. But that's all. Cheers, Dons fans.